Hi, everybody. Welcome to EA Sports NFL Matchup. I'm Sal Palantonio, Merrill Hodge, Ron Jaworski. The 2005 NFL season started Thursday night in Foxborough. The Patriots, oh yeah, won their 21st straight game at home. No Romeo Crennel, no Charlie Weiss. Jaws? No problem.
No problem, because they still had Bill Belichick.
And Tom Brady.
There you go. And, and we can now dispel the myth. We've talked about it the whole offseason. The loss of Charlie Weiss, the offensive coordinator, the loss of Romeo Crennel, the defensive coordinator. Obviously, the Patriots have not missed a beat.
The only trophy Tom Brady has not won, right, is the what? The league MVP?
League MVP.
He continues to play like that, that will happen. It was interesting watching the game. The Raiders tried to rush 3 and drop 8, make those windows tight. Oh, wily Tom Brady, little window like that, throws a touchdown against it. So it doesn't look like there's too many things defensively you can do against Tom Brady that he doesn't handle.
Well, let's begin week 1 in Pittsburgh, where last season's big promise went bust. And I'm talking about Ben Roethlisberger, who starts his sophomore season confronting all sorts of challenges. Plexico Burress Haji is in New York. The bus is in the garage right now. You don't know how much you're going to get of Deuce Staley. Willie Parker is making his big start. This is a dream matchup for you. Your boy, Jeff Fisher, against your team, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, where you going, Haji? Jeff Fisher would like to know how well that went elk hunting and everything was beautiful up in Montana and Idaho, so that's good there. Now let's go to Ben Roethlisberger and the learning curve that he's going to have. Going into his second year, we already talked about Tom Brady through the touchdown against rush 3, drop 8. You know, against a veteran, I don't think those things are going to work. But against a young guy, and studying him last year, especially towards the end of the year against the Jets and here the Patriots did this to him majority of the time in the AFC Championship game. Why? I'll show you. They rushed 3. Not necessarily to get pressure, but to contain him in a sense. What you now have to do is take your time. He wants to go to Hines Ward right here, who has actually been taken away with the in-and-out coverage. Now, what Ben does here is a big mistake. He starts to take down, starts to leave. He breaks down the timing and rhythm. Because look at the in route. It's opening up. If he stays in the pocket, he'll be able to hit it. But now as he moves to the right, now his feet are discombobulated. You like that, Josh?
Man,
and it's very
big words
hard
out, Haji.
to throw back across the body. He tries to do that, even though the in route's there, he doesn't complete it. From the end zone, you'll really get a good look at what I'm talking about, the rhythm and the timing. Really, there's no pressure. Stay there. Windows are small, yes, but just stay there. Look at that in route coming in. Oh. It would have been beautiful had he stayed in the pocket. Well, that's what's happening right now. We'll see in the regular season. We've seen a little bit in the preseason. Towards the end of the year last year, Ben Roethlisberger was struggling against rush 3, drop 8. Tennessee's going to rush 3 and drop 8. What Ben has to do is stay disciplined, stay in the pocket till he is forced to leave. What happened is he had some success leaving the pocket, and now he's got that short clock in his head, like 1.2 seconds, and he wants to leave too soon.
All right, in Pittsburgh, who's the quarterback's best friend?
Well, it's got to be Obsy line and the factor back, and that would be
the running game.
There we go.
The running game. You got it, Mike.
I'm asking you that.
I just want to make sure you're paying attention.
I'm paying attention.
You know, and you think now, okay, Bus is out, Deuce is out. Oh, no running game. We're in trouble. So I come in this week, and the king, Greg Cosell, our producer, I say, Greg, get in the vault and pull out some preseason tape.
And you're going to watch the running game?
I want to take a look at Willie
Seriously?
Parker. Yeah, and I got to tell you, I was very impressed. You know, he has the power of Jerome Bettis. He has that little zoo to get to the outside like Deuce Staley. I think Willie Parker does an admirable job of filling in for 2 fine running backs that won't be playing for the Steelers.
Well, let's talk about a team that really has a running game right now. That's the Kansas City Chiefs and Priest Holmes. And with the Chiefs, you know, they've scored 30 points per game on average for the last 2 seasons. And they do it. This is fascinating to me, Jaws. They do it through the passing game from the inside out. Explain that to me.
Well, you know, a lot of teams, you know, you look who's going to go down the field in a vertical game. You can stretch the field sideline to sideline by formation. What the Kansas City Chiefs like to do is control the hash area. And, you know, Merrill's heard me say it 100 times. From my old buddy Sid Gilman, my old coach, the father of the modern-day passing game, said, if you control the hash area, you control the football field.
That means you're the last genetic link.
That is correct. That is correct. So when you look at the Kansas City Chiefs and what they like to do, they like to control the hash area, and they control it with the game's best tight end, Tony Gonzalez.
This play from last season is a precise summation of the Chiefs' offensive approach. Use the perimeter running game to create space in the middle of the field for their best receiver, Tony Gonzalez. The reason Tony was so open was because the Chiefs really sold the stretch run, a staple for an offense whose running game with Priest Holmes works from the outside in. Watch the offensive line. every man turned and ran laterally, making the stretch believable. This is what I call run action, not play action. The run is clearly sold by the offensive line. Look at the effect it had on the middle linebacker, the player who is responsible for Gonzalez in coverage, should Tony drag across the middle. While Kansas City's running game works from the outside in, their passing game works from the inside out. And Tony Gonzalez is the ultimate chess piece on offensive coordinator Al Saunders' game board.
However, for the Kansas City Chiefs, it all starts with number 31, Priest Holmes. He can get to the outside, bounce to the outside. That's what we say the running game starts outside in because of Priest Holmes. But let's get back to the tight ends. Tony Gonzalez makes it happen. You get him singled up on a safety, and for the Jets, it could be Rhodes or Coleman. Those guys are not very good cover guys. So, hey, you know what? You may see the Chiefs come with 2 tight ends. You got Chris Wilson, another outstanding receiving tight ends. With 2 tight ends, you can create favorable matchups against those Jet safeties. So I'll tell you what, Trent Green's going to have fun looking at those 2 big targets going down the field.
You know, I find this an intriguing matchup because you look at the Jet offense, you know, they really have a similar running game. You know, their running game starts outside in. Problem is, they don't have a Tony Gonzalez, but they are going against a Chief defense. Yes, on paper is much better, but you know what? They haven't played for 60 minutes yet. And that, to me, I don't think this defense comes together until maybe 4 or 5. So the Jets may have their way in the passing game as well, but theirs will be outside again.
Rookie Kerry Rhodes against Priest Holmes and Tony Gonzalez. That's some baptism by fire. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll talk about the Vikings without Randy Moss and John Gruden's desperation in Tampa.
And for the next 2 hours, I want effort, execution, accountability, and I want to see a physical football practice.
Tomorrow's special was going to be vegetarian lasagna, but since spaghetti with marinara sauce was served today, the staff did not feel it was appropriate to have 2 Italian dishes in a row. Therefore, the new special is shepherd's pie and lentil soup.
EA Sports NFL Matchup is brought to you by Madden NFL 2006 in stores now, and by IBM, helping companies innovate in an on-demand world.
Let's get kind of close here, guys, so I don't have to yell. I just want to say 4 words now that this football team is built upon, all right? It's effort, it's execution, it's accountability, and it's physicalness, okay? You do those 4 things, you're going to be rewarded. You're going to win games, and you're going to win championships.
You know, for the last 2 years, John Gruden has been chewing on the fact that he has not made the playoffs after winning the Super Bowl, but he has finally settled on a quarterback with Brian Griese, who completed 70% of his passes last year. Haji, it looks like the offense is moving in the right direction for him.
Man, is it moving in the right direction. I'd love to play for John Gruden, man. 4 words and a speech without a swear word. I gotta love that. I gotta love that. But when you look at why he has decided to go on Brian Griese, one of the reasons is because he's a smart quarterback. And the reason you got to be smart with John is because he does so many things with shifts, formations, personnel, because if he does a lot, that means the defense better start thinking a lot. And if they think a lot and get out of position, that's when you can get some big plays. Let me show you what I'm talking about, just about shifts and personnel groupings, how he makes linebackers think. Let's focus here. Look at all of the people out there. Now look, you got wide receivers in the backfield, you got tight ends up, you got running backs. I've got them all bunch. Now that's set up, okay? Linebackers are looking at this. Okay, wide receivers, oh, okay, now they're shifted. Okay, back goes the backfield. Wide receivers come over, tight ends shift to the other side. Now we got to check something else. We got to be thinking as linebackers. Again, we got to change our thought process. Wide receivers are over to the left, tight ends and running backs to the right. One running back in the very back. Now we're going to snap the ball after we have motion. Linebackers are thinking, boy, that looks like a power formation. They've done all this shit, but they're going to run the ball. Let's hit it. Oh, no. They didn't run the ball. Now, Brian Griese's booting out. wide receiver wide open, and it's a little simple pass with no underneath coverage because the linebackers have hit the run. They've been through all this thought process. They've seen all these shifts. They see all this personnel and all these formations, and then they think run. And what happens a lot of times in football, or what John Gruden will do to you, is he makes you think too much. And then you get out of position like that play. I think he is the master at doing that. That's why he does all these shifts. Yes, it is to create matchups, but it's also to get you out of position because you overthink yourself. So the Vikings have that challenge with a bunch of new guys.
And I agree. You know, when you look at John Gruden's offense, it's about disguise, creating confusion in the secondary. But when you look at the Minnesota Vikings offense, it's about execution. You know, they've got a quarterback that can really execute their style of offense. Culpepper's your prototypical guy that wants to set up in the pocket. But what I love when he does move, his first move is to throw the football down the field, not to run. He's matured into a pocket passer, a passing quarterback, not just a thrower. Look at Jamal Williams come right up the middle on him. He does not lose his downfield focus. He regains his balance, focusing down the field. He sees the linebacker jump the underneath route. He knows he's got the square and route coming over the top. And I love the way he resets, ball in throwing position, and delivers a perfect throw. I really enjoy each week coming in, plugging in tape, watching Dante Culpepper. I mean, he is playing at a very, very high level right now.
You know, let's shift now to this Carolina-New Orleans game. And in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, I think it's safe to say that we're all rooting for the city of New Orleans. I think it's safe to say that this week we all are Saints fans. You know, no disrespect to the Carolina Panthers, but, you know, what the Saints have been through, I think, has captivated the sports world. But they don't get a break this week. They got to play a team that everybody is picking to win the NFC, or a lot of people are picking to get the NFC Championship game. What about that Saints defense against this Carolina offense now that you have Deshaun Foster and Stephen Davis healthy?
And you have the best offensive line John Fox has had in years, and you have Smith who's back. Stephen Smith is back, and he is a difference maker. And when you've got a speed like that, the one thing in looking at the last matchup, the Saints played a lot of man-to-man, but Smith was not playing there. The speed was not there. The offensive line was not at full force like it is. Their running game was not at full force. So I think in this particular matchup, I think Fox gets back to his old basic style of smash-mouth football, but also able to hit you explosively down the field. What will be the difference in this? Can the Saints play man-to-man like they did last year in the last matchup? I don't think they can. At times, I think they try to do that. If they do stay a lot of man-to-man, the running game becomes very effective. Remember that Bucs thing we just saw a little bit ago? Those are great things for man-to-man. You get people flowing one way, and you come the backside on either runs or passes and get people out of position.
You know, speaking of smash-mouth football, I think this is what you're going to see from the New Orleans Saints this season. Remember, they changed offensive coordinators. Right. You know, I have Mike Shepard coordinating the offense, and I've spoke to Mike, and he wants that physical style of running game. So I think you're going to see a heavy dose of Deuce McAllister.
You better run it.
Exactly. No, that's what you're going to get.
I agree with you.
And I think when you look at Carolina, how they like to play defense, the best thing you want to do is run the football at Julius Peppers. Because Carolina does a tremendous job with their scheme. And let me give you some numbers. I broke down the game last year that New Orleans won in Carolina, the last game of the season. And 16 times Julius Peppers dropped into coverage. So you can get him, that's what I'm saying, run at him. You can get him leaning out of there, get to his coverage. Now, when he dropped into coverage, New Orleans had a tough time against that. The quarterbacks were 3 and 9 for 40 yards, 7 runs for 4 yards. However, I do believe when you look at this game, and if Mike Shepard, the offensive coordinator, can dial up the right plays when Julius Peppers is dropping out, there's an opportunity for big plays.
The Panthers played man-to-man coverage underneath, with 2 deep safeties playing zone over the top. Normally, in a man-under 2 deep coverage, a linebacker has the tight end man-to-man. But on this play, as you can see from the end zone angle, linebacker Will Witherspoon and defensive end Julius Peppers exchanged responsibilities. Witherspoon rushed Aaron Brooks, while Peppers covered tight end Boo Williams. Even for a unique talent like Peppers, this was a tough assignment. The purpose of this coverage exchange was really to break down the Saints' pass protection, to confuse the blocking assignments. But watch running back Aaron Stecker on the other side of the formation, away from Peppers and Witherspoon. Stecker, recognizing the Panthers' blitz scheme and understanding the Saints' protection, crossed the formation to pick up the blitzing Witherspoon. That allowed Aaron Brooks to be comfortable in the pocket and deliver the ball easily to Williams for the first down.
Can I go back to the Panthers offense?
Go ahead, Sal.
I just don't know how John Fox is going to replace Moreeeee Muhammad's 16 touchdown catches.
Smith.
Well, I'm very skeptical.
Spread it around.
We're going to talk a lot about this in the matchup show for the rest of the year. We're going to call it difference makers. When you talk about a difference maker, there's very few of those in the National Football League. Smith is a difference maker. Moreeeee Muhammad, great wide receiver, great guy, but he's not a difference maker. That's the bottom line.
Don't go away. When we come back, it's time to send Jaws inside the film room for a look at the dream matchup between Peyton Manning and Ray Lewis.
Today, we dominate them. If they get on that scoreboard, we lose. If they get on the scoreboard today, we lose. I'll put it on our hands. Let's go. LB, y'all know we doing 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh!
Peyton Manning makes it look so easy when you see no defender on the screen here with Marvin Harrison. That's not by accident. That's by design. Jaws, this is where you take us inside the film room, powered by IBM.
All right, Sal, and the design was by Tom Moore, the offensive coordinator. Merrill and I's good friend. He always says, say hello to P10. Of course, that was the only play that Merrill could run. But, you know, when you watch Tom Moore's offense, it is aggressive. It is downfield. It is big play-oriented. And the bell cow for those big plays is Marvin Harrison. Now, if you remember back to that Baltimore-Indy game a year ago, that baby was nip and tuck the entire game. The Ravens' defense was playing outstanding. So Tom Moore had to come up with a big play. So he dialed up number 88.
There were 6 minutes left in the third quarter. The Colts had not scored a touchdown up to this point. On this 3rd and 1, they went with their short yardage personnel, 2 backs and 2 tight ends. Marvin Harrison was the only wide receiver on the field, and he was on the left of the formation, not the right, as he almost always is. From the end zone angle, you see that the Ravens matched up with their short yardage package. 4 down linemen and 4 linebackers. They anticipated and played run, aggressively attacking the line of scrimmage. From a coverage standpoint, they played what we call zero coverage. That means there is no deep safety in the middle of the field. Off Peyton Manning's play action, Harrison was the only receiver running a route. Marvin ran to the post. Chris McAllister guessed and covered an out route. It was the touchdown that propelled the Colts to a 20-10 victory in last season's key Week 15 matchup.
Believe it or not, there's going to be other players playing in this game other than the quarterback and wide receiver.
Really?
Yes, and one of those great matchups is going to be Jonathan Ogden and Dwight Freeney. Last year's matchup, I remember Josh saying, oh, Jonathan Ogden is going to dominate Freeney.
I did not say
Freeney
that.
hears
I
that,
did not
and he
say
takes
that.
it personal.
Don't put
Watch
words in my
Freeney.
mouth.
Leverage. That is what I think he does so well. And he gets off the football, great leverage, pushes Jonathan Ogden, the best tackle in football, back into the quarterback, disrupting the passing game. Now, the patented spin move. The one thing that tackles have to be aware of. Freeney gets off the football. That is the key to being a great pass rusher. As I was bowling with Dwight Freeney, and he told me that. The great spin move right there. Again, disrupt the pressure of the quarterback. You like that bowling part, didn't you?
Bowling?
That is, yeah, we were bowling at Peyton's Bowl-a-thon. But this guy is amazing how he gets off the football. Now, they're going to be in Baltimore. You're on grass, and you're at neutral site. That is a little different. I don't think he's as effective as he is at home, but still a tremendous matchup to watch. And he is a guy who is a difference maker, and therefore you have to adjust your formations and play calling because of that one guy. That's how he can dominate a game.
You guys had a lot of fun with that game, didn't you?
We love it.
Mike Patrick, Paul McGuire, Susie Colburn, Joe Theismann. I'm sure on Sunday night we'll have a whole lot of fun with that game, too. Let's shift now to Seattle at Jacksonville. You know, Jack Del Rio was the only head coach in the National Football League last year to send 2 defensive linemen to the Pro Bowl, Marcus Stroud, John Henderson. Now you add Reggie Hayward, and he has a chance on that D-line to be truly dominant this year.
Remember I said difference makers? We're going to talk about that. Stroud and Henderson are difference makers. We're going to go right to the clicker, and I'm going to show you what I mean about the difference maker. I like that jump right here, by the way.
Get a chiropractor.
Right here, we have Stroud and Henderson. You know, when you're going to run the football at these defensive tackles here, they're going to try to get double teams on them. The reason you have double teams is because you believe you can control those players. Here's the double team. Here's the double team. We know these guys are secure, right? We're going to take care of them with our 2 guys. It doesn't happen. Look at how they get off the blocks. They split the double team, and they're able to make the tackle. And then if I've got a defensive tackle that can get to the quarterback and disrupt in the passing game, Henderson right here, I want you to focus on him. Watch him get off the football. He's closest to the quarterback. Therefore, even though we're going to try to double him and help, if he can get to my quarterback, he'll get there a lot quicker than a defensive end. Breaks down the pocket, pressure on Steve McNair, one of the best quarterbacks in football, and you disrupt the passing game. These guys won games. Literally, those two defensive tackles won games for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. If you can get 5 wins out of those two guys, you get help elsewhere, this team is going to be dangerous this year.
Yeah,
those two guys, every offensive lineman in football just goes, oh, God.
I agree with you. Those two tackles are absolutely awesome. That's why I think what you'll see out of Seattle, kind of compress the protection to the inside and let Hasselbeck in those 3- and 5-step drop get the ball out. And I watched Matt through the preseason. I'm telling you, he is really stroking it. Kind of like my golf swing, Haji. You know, I get on that tee and I trust my swing. You know, right now, Matt Hasselbeck is trusting his wide receivers. He's processing the information quickly. Once the ball is snapped, the ball is coming out of his hands in time with his receivers. And that's the key, Sal. You got to be in sync, in time with those receivers. Hasselbeck right now playing very, very well. I know it's preseason, but I think he's going to have a sensational season.
Your golf swing.
I trust your golf swing. Hey, I don't see trees watered.
All right,
I see
Tiger.
fairway.
All right,
right
Tiger.
now, Matt Hasselbeck sees his receivers open.
All right, Tiger.
I'm speechless. Stay with us.
Oh, my.
When we return, our new feature, the EASports.com poll question, which young quarterback will show the greatest improvement this season? Here are the show times for week 2. You know, week 2 is my favorite week.
Really?
We got the first fresh film of the real games, the real matchups, dissect, analyze, establish a benchmark for the entire season. You want to do it, nobody's watching more film than Jaws and Haji. You know, our new feature this year, the EASports.com poll question. You go to the homepage, you click on the poll question, we read the answers the following week. This week's question, real simple. Which young quarterback will show the most improvement in 2005? Joey Harrington, Carson Palmer, Kyle Bowler, David Carr. And the answer is Carson Palmer with 38% of the vote. How'd you your thoughts?
They are absolutely accurate. You know, just before we drafted Carson Palmer, Marvin Lewis and I were talking about him, and he said, you know, he reminds me a lot of Troy Aikman, only he's a better athlete. That means he can move, and they do design stuff with him. They move him outside the pocket. And Marvin sold me on it. I said, let's draft the kid. Let's get him into Cincinnati.
You wanted John Kitna all along.
I will tell you this. I will
now.
tell you this right now. This guy is special. You say this very few times. Fang is a special, special player. They may have the best offense in football by the time it's all said and done this year.
You are finally paying attention to me. Now, the guy that got no respect in that EA Sports poll was Kyle Bowler. So they must have been watching him this preseason. He struggled in the preseason. Again, I'll use the term preseason, but when you got Derek Mason, Mark Clayton, Todd Heap, and Jamal Lewis as a quarterback, you got to play better.
And that offensive line.
Yeah. Next week's poll question, how in the world did Haji pick the Cowboys to go to the playoffs?
All right, go Cowboys!
See you next week.
EA Sports NFL Matchup is brought to you by Madden NFL 2006 in stores now, and by GMC Trucks and SUVs. We are professional grade.
Ready?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to EA Sports NFL Matchup. Sal Palantonio, Merrill Hodge, Ron Jaworski. I know what you're thinking over there. NFC East. Go ahead, get it out of your system now.
Go Cowboys! I told you, man. Look out for them Cowboys.
All right, let's go out to the AFC West. Let me dust off the Super Bowl blueprint right there. And, of course,
what are you going to add to it?
Dick Vermeil now adds defense to the blueprint.
Boy.
Big year for the Chiefs.
Your daddy gets it, man.
Gunther Cunningham's not going to answer your phone calls after that. Let's stay in the AFC with Byron Leftwich and the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are in Indianapolis, and if any team is going to challenge the Colts in the AFC South this year, it's got to be the Jags. And Haji, Jack Del Rio has built that defense around one thing each year now, going a couple of years, get after Peyton Manning with any kind of pressure he can.
Isn't it nice to be Peyton Manning?
Yes.
Everybody's trying to do that to Peyton Manning. They're always, Peyton Manning always gets every team's haymaker, their very best effort. Now, the one thing we saw on Sunday night with the Ravens' approach was jumping around with their personnel and their 3-4 philosophy, jumping around, trying to create some indecision in the pre-snap phase. Well, Jacksonville is not going to do that. Even though the Ravens had some success in the first half, they are more of a zone type of team. They try to keep things in front of them. Watching the last matchup last year, when Jacksonville beat the Colts in Indianapolis, this is what you're going to see. It's kind of zone within a zone. Two guys on Marvin Harrison's side, even though this is a zone look. Those three against the two wide receiver side. But here's the beauty of this route. Both routes are screaming at the safeties.
Man.
You got Stokely and you got Harrison. Why is that critical? It holds the safeties wide. Why are you trying to hold them wide? Because the ball's coming to the middle. And Peyton Manning knows if those safeties stay wide, it's a touchdown. But the end zone shows you the real beauty, the art of quarterback.
That's
Watch
right.
this,
Now
Josh.
you got it.
Watch Peyton look to the
You're
left.
learning.
The reason he's looking to the left, to hold the safety. What now has to complement that? Harrison's route. He's got to screen down, hold that safety. You talk about anticipation. Folks, just watch this. Ball is gone. Oh, Marvin Harrison's head has not turned. His route is not complete. And he puts this right in the hands of Marvin Harrison. This is a thing of beauty from the end zone angle. Only with the coach's tape would you see this. That is what is the beauty of Peyton Manning, how good he is. That is why you got to try to change something once the ball snaps, because he is so beautiful. If you're going to stay in it, fine.
That was really cool, because really to see the artistry of Peyton Manning, to paint that picture, you've got to have the coach's tape.
That's the beauty of it. You're right, Sal.
Yeah, but you could also be Peyton Manning if you want, Sal, in Madden 2006.
Even Sal?
No, even Sal. It's about the vision.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that's the one thing Peyton Manning has, the ability to see the field, the entire field, with clarity. Look at this. Looks to his left, comes back to his right. That's a long handoff to Marvin Harrison. That's the accuracy of Peyton Manning. Look, you can get back in the pocket, read the defense, find the open receiver. I love the manipulation of the secondary by Peyton Manning. Move people around with the pump fake, the eyes looking left, come back to the right. Haji showed it in his coach's tape in Madden 2006. You could be Peyton Manning, and your arms could get bigger, too.
That's right, man. I'm Peyton Manning, but reduce little biceps, baby.
Right. The other thing, too, guy playing at a very high level, Byron Leftwich of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And what I like is his timing and rhythm and understanding the ball must come out quickly. Here, the 5-step drop. Wham, back foot hits the ground. 2.1 seconds, ball out. Jimmy Smith catches this ball at 20 yards. Perfect timing. And in this matchup with Dwight Freeney coming off the edge, Mike Pearson and Ephraim Salam, they must be aware of that. That means that the ball must come out on time. A lot of pressure on Byron Leftwich to get the ball out of his hand.
Let's switch to a team that lost to the Jags last week, the Seattle Seahawks. Now they have their home opener, and guess who comes to town?
The Sick Vic offense.
Michael Vick. This is the obligatory Sick Vic comment portion of the program from Merrill Hodge.
Well,
Please
actually,
go ahead.
After watching the tape, the one thing I think you might see in this particular matchup is movement early with Mike Vick, because it seems that he is actually more comfortable and more accurate when he's running with the football and throwing off the run. Then he settles down in the pocket. So I would anticipate Greg Knapp, the offensive coordinator, doing a little bit more of that early in this game to kind of settle Vick down, because they're going to be on the road. Hawk defense much better at the point of attack against the run, but they're not getting pressure on the quarterback like they would like to. Not a very good blitz team yet.
You know, while we were all impressed with Michael Vick and the way he plays the game, the excitement he brings,
Yeah,
I'll tell you, I was impressed with the Falcons' defense
yeah.
on Monday night.
It's a defensive show for
It
Josh.
was high-pressure defense. They blitzed the Eagles 38 of 61 snaps.
Why did they do that?
62% of the time, they brought 5 or more to stop the running game or attack Donovan McNabb. It was about hits on the quarterback, disrupting the timing and rhythm of the passing game, and good coverage downfield. If I'm Matt Hasselbeck right now, I've got my playbook out. I'm looking at all my sight adjustments, how to get the ball out of my hand quickly. The Falcons will come after Matt Hasselbeck.
You know, I think they do come after, but when you look at the Eagles versus Seattle, it's a much different offense. Seattle is more balanced. They have the running game of Shaun Alexander, so you do have to take that into consideration. I think that negates a lot of your blitzes, because you do have to worry about the running game. So I don't think they blitz the Seahawks as much as they did Philadelphia.
All right, stay with us. When we come back, Tom Brady takes his show on the road, and so do the resurgent Buffalo Bills.
Let him know. Let them know right from the start. 60 minutes of hell.
EA Sports NFL Matchup is brought to you by Tiger Woods 06. The pressure begins September 20th. And by IBM, helping companies innovate in an on-demand world.
Takeo Spikes, Troy Vincent, Lawyer Malloy, London Fletcher. The two Toms, Modrak and Donahoe, have assembled some kind of savvy defensive unit in Buffalo. This, to me, is the most intriguing matchup of Week 2. Monty Kiffin has obviously rebuilt that Bucs defense, Haji. But J.P. Lossman and Mike Mularkey, they've got the work cut out from this week.
Well, they do. You know, a lot of credit goes to Monty Kiffin. You know, doing this Buck defense during the preseason and studying them. Monty Kiffin has them playing as good as they've played in years. Buck ball is back defensively.
Yeah, I like
all right?
that. I like that.
Now, I'm going to tell you this. Monty Kiffin's watching J.P. Lossman's first start. And in the first half, he's like, boy, under great anticipation, very good rhythm. I was very impressed with J.P. Well, the Texans started to get pressure on him. Then he started to break down. So I'm sure Monty's going, okay, we're not going to wait till the second half. We're going to bring pressure on him right away. And too many times the Buck defense is known for just cover 2 and they play their vanilla defense. Bull. They bring pressure. They're good at getting pressure. I would expect a lot of that. Pressure then falls on Mike Mularkey. Play calling and design of offense, which he did a very good job in the second half with J.P. Lossman, some boot action, and give him, you know, here, this read or a run. So I would expect a lot of that early for the Bills as well because pressure's going to be there.
Yeah, you know, speaking of design, we know Hugo Boss designs nice clothing.
Man.
You know, John Gruden designs a really good offense. We're talking about design. We're talking about good stuff.
Ball.
And that's what John Gruden does. And, you know, you watch the Bucs, and we both love plugging in the tape of John Gruden's offense because you get the illusion that it's complex and sophisticated, but when in reality, it's very simple. You know, and last week you showed some of their breakdowns of their motion, their movement, their formation variation to create matchups. Well, this week I'm going through the tape, and I found another unique concept. On this 3rd and 9, the Bucs aligned wide receivers Ike Hilliard and Michael Clayton in a stacked position. Tampa anticipated a soft cover 2 zone scheme in which the coverage responsibilities of corner Brian Williams and safety Corey Chavis were based on the releases of Clayton and Hilliard. Chavis would take the first receiver who declared to the inside, and Williams would take the first to declare to the outside. The brilliance of the design was that neither route declared until 10 yards down the field. With Hilliard and Clayton both showing vertical routes, Chavis and Williams were forced to get depth in their coverage. So when Clayton finally broke off his out route, Williams was too deep to defend it. The design was beautiful, but that only gave the play a chance. Brian Greasy's poise and precision made the play work. You'll notice that the Vikings' stunt was successful. Kenichi Udeze was free, bearing down on Greasy. But Brian stared down the gun barrel and delivered a perfect throw. That allowed Clayton to run after the catch. This was an orchestrated big play in a long yardage situation.
Our next matchup, the Pats at the Panthers, a rematch of the Super Bowl 2 years ago. The Patriots have had 10 days off. That's 10 days to prepare for Bill Belichick. That's not good news for the Panthers. I know two things in this game. The Panthers do not want to start the season 0-2 at home, right? And the other thing is, if they're looking at that opener with the Raiders against the Patriots, they do not want Tom Brady to play pat and go all night long. I mean, because that's what happened.
Well, listen, this is a great matchup. It's very intriguing, too. And you plug in the tape. The things you've got to look at is the Carolina defense is fast and aggressive. Now, that is a great thing if you're defense. That's how you want to play. But when you're playing against the New England Patriots, you do have to play with a little bit of caution because they are so good at adding a wrinkle here or there to take advantage of your aggressiveness. Let me go to the coach's clicker, which I love to do this, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. First thing we're going to see, first guy to see the jump. Beautiful. I want to show you the aggressiveness that I'm talking about with the Carolina Panthers. Now, they like to play on the other side of the line of scrimmage. They reset the line of scrimmage, and everybody flies to the football. Look at the line of scrimmage was right here, and they've already reestablished it back here because they're physical, they're aggressive, they attack the football. Look at everybody flying to the football. The reason I want you to see this is how they play down after down after down. Now, why you have to be very cautious when you're the New England Patriots is their wrinkles. This is going to be a screen to this side. But watch this little wrinkle here with this reverse action. Watch the effect it has right here on this defense. Now, they're in a man coverage. This linebacker is supposed to be covering this back. Look what happens. The reverse, he's like, oh, I'm going to go get it. Everybody out of position here. Now here comes the screen. What do you have? You got three hosses with nobody to block. You got one of the best backs in football going, come on, baby, get somebody down. Let me go up the sideline. Bad spot, in fact. Football should have been right there. But now you see what we're talking. This is the matchup that's going to happen. The Carolina Panthers, bang, they're going to get after the football. But when you watch tape, you're like, man, we're going to have to slow down just a little bit because they do throw some wrinkles in there we have to be very concerned about.
Let me mention a name. Eric Mangini, the defensive coordinator for the New England Patriots. We all know the great job Romeo Crennel did.
Yep.
But what I love about a defense that can adjust, it gives you the chance to be successful. And that's exactly what the Patriots did week 1. In the first quarter, Lamont Jordan had 8 carries for 42 yards against the 3-4 defense. Well, lo and behold, Mangini switched to the 4-3. He brought in 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers. Now they played more of that one gap. And Monty Beisel, number 52, is now attacking downhill. When they went to the 4-3, it became a much more aggressive defense against that 4-3. Lamont Jordan, you know what he had? 10 carries for only 28 yards.
It's not good.
You know, can I say something here about the Panthers offense? I mean, Deshaun Foster and Stephen Davis, they are going to be the keys for them to dictate on offense early in this game. There's no question about that.
No turnovers.
Stay with us. When we come back, the Kansas City Chiefs discovered defense. Yeah. Jaws was there, and when we return, he'll tell you how they did it. In the Vermeil years in KC, it's been one big tease, 30 points a game for 2 years. But the defense had no clue how to get off the field. Then last week, Jaws, the KC defense stripped the Jets of their dignity. Tell us what happened there. Go inside the film room. Powered by IBM.
All right, Sal. Well, they had an epiphany. No question of that. You know, Tuesday I get in, I look at the tape, and I say, I got to call Gunther Cunningham, the Chiefs' defensive coordinator, and tell him I thought they played with great discipline. Yeah, you could see the athleticism, but it's how they played the game. And, of course, Gunther was already in his nasty mood. You know, it's Raider week, and he said, come on, Jaws, you're interrupting me already. You know, I'm getting ready for the Raiders. But he did give me a few minutes of his time. And, you know, we spoke about the discipline of that defense. And, you know, everyone loves to blitz, and everyone likes to get after the quarterback, but the key is you must work in harmony.
Let's start with cornerback Patrick Surtain. He was playing a zone coverage concept, but with man-to-man principles. Surtain had deep half responsibilities, but when Lavernius Coles entered his zone, Patrick locked onto him. Surtain had no help over the top. Safety Greg Wesley was on the other side of the field. This was a difficult assignment, but the coverage was designed to complement the blitz pressure. From the end zone angle, let's focus on the blitz. It's coming from the right side of your screen. First, and most important, look at linebacker Ke'Aaron Fox. Fox took on left tackle Jason Fabini to the inside. That was critical. It was Fox's path, bringing Fabini down inside, that shortened the corner for Sammy Knight, allowing Knight to come clean on the outside. Discipline is an overlooked element in blitz pressure, and it was the discipline of Fox executing his responsibility that enabled Knight to make the big play.
Gunther, thanks for calling Jaws and helping him back on that. But let's flip this around to the Chiefs' offense. I think everybody understands you got to stop the running game for the Chiefs. But in studying the Raiders' defense against the Patriot offense, one of the things I noticed that they had a difficult time was defending Ben Watson, the tight end, with their safety, Derek Gibson. Derek Gibson lined up on Ben Watson right here. From the sideline, I actually thought it was a linebacker covering Watson. I thought, well, no reason they got it to Watson. So I went to the end zone. I noticed it was the safety. The first thing I started thinking about, Tony Gonzalez, Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I'm going to tell you, the Chiefs are going to see this. They're going to see Watson struggled, or Gibson struggled with Watson. They're going to, okay, Tony, we're going to get you in those same situations and try to take advantage. of the safety in the same situation and make him cover.
Game, you're right, but also, you know, the Chiefs have what they call the pit package when they bring in their third tight end, Chris Wilson, and these guys can all block. Against the Jets, they used a crackback concept. You see Chris Wilson right here inside, Jason Dunn outside on the motion in, that zin motion. Now look at these blocks right there. Seal the inside, the toss to Larry Johnson. Look at the seam created. How'd you like Vince Lombardi?
Called the alley.
There you go. There's the alley. Larry Johnson untouched to the end zone. A beautiful thing. The tight end, yes, in the passing game important, but with the Chiefs, whew, they can block.
Let's shift to Minnesota Vikings, Cincinnati Bengals.
Let's do that, Sal.
Tough day last week for Dante Culpepper. He saw life without Randy Moss, didn't like what he saw. Carson Palmer, on the other hand, last 4 games, completed 77% of his passes.
Ooh, he's hot.
QB rating, 113.
Well, if you watched this show last week, Sal and Josh, you would know that I called Carson Palmer a special player, and he's showing it each and every week. And I think this week, the burden falls on Carson Palmer in order to beat this Viking defense. They've gotten better on paper, but they're still a new unit. And I think when you have a lot of new players, you got to make them think a lot. That means you got a lot of shifts and motions. So in this particular matchup, I think it's going to be important Carson Palmer have success early. But I think they're going to go Bob Bratkowski, the offensive coordinator, and use a lot of shifts and motions early in the game, create confusion, and force a lot of thinking. They did that a few times against the Cleveland Browns. Here's the shift. Now notice what that causes to the defense. They're talking to each other. They're shifting themselves. They're making signs, changing things, trying to adjust. One more little thing we're going to do. We're going to motion the back out of the backfield. Look what it does to that side. Linebacker widens out, and the defensive linemen, they move out. What he does when he moves, he's laid off the ball. He gets no pressure. It's a 3-step drop. Carson Palmer pumps to the left and comes back to the right. From the end zone angle, you'll really see the effect it has, all these shifts and motions. Focus on the right side as the motion goes out. As the defense adjusts and tries to get in position, well, they're laid off the football. No pressure on the quarterback. Carson Palmer takes his time, reads the coverage, gets the ball to his wide receiver. We call that a completion in the National Football League.
Boy,
that is what Minnesota is going to be dealing with. They got a bunch of new guys, but they're going to have to deal with all the shifts, all the motions, and then that special player I've called Carson Palmer, going to be a dynamite guy for fantasy football as well. All right, love the kid.
You got everything in. You know
what? I tell him, Marvin asked me about him. I said, go get him, and good deal by us.
To me. What do we call this show? The matchup show.
The EA Sports matchup show.
It's all about matchups. And I'll tell you this, when Carson Palmer looks at the tape of that Minnesota secondary, what he's going to do is say, Ralph Brown is the guy I'm going to attack. They can come out with their 4 wide set with Johnson, Husmanzada, Walter, and Washington. Get Ralph Brown on the field. The Bucs attacked him with a stutter go. Whoop! There's a big play right over the top of Ralph Brown. There's, you know, when you start bringing 4 wide receivers in the field, it brings down the pecking order in the secondary. You will see Ralph Brown being attacked in this matchup. But you must also worry about Kevin Williams, a defensive tackle for the Vikings. You must block him. You must account for him. He is a disruptor. He is, as you would say, Haji, a factor lineman.
Factor tackle, baby.
Plays, baby.
And that's why I really think Carson's so important, because of Pat Williams, both the Williams boys up front,
inside.
He ain't going to hammer at them. You got to spread them out and make them run a little bit.
All right, stay right there. When we come back, our EASports.com poll question: which running back must, I stress, must get 100 yards in Week 2? .30 on ESPN. Before all the shouting and screaming, Jaws and Haji will give you a surgical breakdown of all the games with a little laughs thrown in, of course. Time for our new feature in this year's show, our EASports.com poll question: which running back must get 100 yards in Week 2? Curtis Martin against the Fish, Steven Jackson out in the desert, Jamal Lewis against Tennessee, or you say it, Haji.
Oh, man, green.
That's right, Batman. And the answer is Jamal Lewis. Haji, your thoughts?
I disagree with our pollsters out there for the first time. I got Curtis Martin for 2 reasons. Chad Pennington needs him desperately, and this Miami Dolphin defense is bona fide good.
Hey, would you pat me on the back a second here?
Why? You do it yourself.
Pat me on the back.
You do it all the time.
Come on, pat me on the back.
There you go.
That wasn't
better after that Willie Parker call last week.
You do deserve that, baby.
See, I said, watch Willie Parker. The power of Jerome Bettis. The quickness, the speed to get to the outside like Deuce Staley. He was a combination back. Bill Cowher saw this performance. You know what he said? He's not my starting back, no matter if Buzz or Deuce or anyone is healthy. Willie Parker. You don't default, Hodge. You get the tape out. Doesn't lie.
And that's why TV League Guide has us as the NFL's most watchable. They've got your picture in there, and that includes you too, Sal. The most watchable. Why? Because we watch the coaches' tape.
Even me. I made the cut.
Because we watch the coaches' tape, and we're able to show some things that just nobody else has the opportunity to give you.
And it really is the beauty of it. And you know, I kid when I say pat me on the back, but when we saw that Willie Parker was going to play, you know, we go and we look at the tape. You break down the tape. You know, you don't get some press release to see what other people have to say. We form our own opinions by what the tape tells us.
Well, the Titans made Willie Parker look like Franco Harris, but I disagree with both of you. I think this week has to be Brian Westbrook. If Andy Reid wants Donovan McNabb to survive the whole season, he better find himself a running.
How do we get over to the Eagles? We're talking about the Steelers. We're talking about Willie Parker. Willie Parker is critical because then if he plays like that, Ben Roethlisberger will be just fine, making 2 touchdowns a game, throwing the ball 11 times. Here we go, Steelers.
Balance. It is all
You do need
about
balance.
You have to
agree
have
with
balance.
you there.
Every team that had a 100-yard rusher won last week.
Thank you,
We
Sal.
will see you.
That's why you're on the show.
We will see you next week.
EA Sports NFL Matchup is brought to you by Tiger Woods 06. The pressure begins September 20th. And by GMC Trucks and SUVs. We are professional grade.
ESPN thanks you for watching this presentation of the National Football League. The NFL is online at www.nfl.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to EA Sports NFL Matchup. Sal Palantonio, Merrill Hodge, Ron Jaworski. It is week 3, so we have a jam-packed show. Michael Vick, Tom Brady, Big Ben, of course, Randy Moss and T.O. I got 2 words for you, Jaws. Kyle Orton.
Well, I have 1 word for you. Impressive.
Oh, that's not the 2 words I would have used for you, but that's all right. All right, we got a jam-packed show. We got to go.
Yeah, all right.
We got to go.
We definitely have to go. Looks like the Bears have got themselves a quarterback, but we start in New York. The Jaguars at the Jets. Both teams 1-1, and the Jets have struggled through it with Chad Pennington and Curtis Martin both laboring. The Jets have seen a multiple stream of 8-man fronts, Jaws. You watched the tape of the Jaguars defense last week against the Colts. What are the Jets confronted with this week?
I'll use the word impressive once again. The Jaguars defense was terrific against Peyton Manning and all those weapons he has on offense. And I love, you know, getting the newspaper accounts the next morning and reading about this newly designed game plan that Jack Del Rio used against Peyton Manning, this 3-man rush. I couldn't wait to get in and look at the tape. They used a 3-man rush. 8 of 66 snaps. Wow. Only 12%. But you know what was good? The execution of the game plan. Not only getting pressure from their down linemen, but the rerouting of the wide receivers, tight end, and backs by the linebackers and the secondary. What that did was broke down the metronome in Peyton Manning's head. The Jaguars held Peyton Manning to 122 yards passing by taking a page out of Bill Belichick's playbook. Focus on slot receiver Reggie Wayne. He was running a shallow cross, but the Jags made him work to get across the field. First, linebacker Darryl Smith jammed Reggie at the line of scrimmage, disrupting his release. Then, with Wayne still within the 5-yard chuck zone, linebacker Aiken Adele blasted him again, rerouting Wayne off the path that Manning had anticipated. The other disruptive element was pressure, and it came from 3- and 4-man rushes. Here, defensive tackle John Henderson was in a one-on-one situation with left guard Ryan Lilja, a clear mismatch in favor of the Jaguars. Jacksonville's pass rush was consistent throughout the game, hurrying Peyton's tempo and forcing him to come off open receivers down the field. You can see Dallas Clark open on the in-breaking route, but Henderson's pressure, combined with Paul Spicer's heat from the other side, forced Manning to check the ball to Wayne. Expect the Jaguars to present problems